Hi, I'm Trey Alexander from Child Support Game Over. And if you recall in our part one, we covered how there are two gods and two laws and two systems: the God of the Bible, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his law and his kingdom. And there is another small g god known as Saturn or Helios, Kronos, Osiris, goes by many different names. Also Baal. And that Saturn was the king of a group of non-human entities known as the Watchers, who had sex with human women and created hybrid beings, the Titans. And we're going to pick up in Genesis chapter 10 with the king of Babylon, Nimrod. Nimrod was known as the sun god. His wife, Ishtar, was known as the goddess of fertility, and that's where you get Ishtar bunnies and eggs, and the sunrise worship of this false system, false god. And it says in Genesis 10:9, he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. Now, there's a word here, hunter. And this word hunter in the Greek only appears twice. And I believe it's mistranslated. It, I believe, should read a mighty hybrid being. Nimrod is depicted as being roughly 13 feet tall in statues and crushing lions with his bare hands. There's a reason he was called the sun god. And if you recall, he was the one who could see into the other dimensions and started building the Tower of Babel before God confused them, because he believed he could enter into the heavenly realm. Now, next, the second place in the Bible where this word hunter or hybrid being appears is with Esau. The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples will be separated from your body, and one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. Now the first came out forth red all over like a hairy garment, and they named him Esau. Now, what kind of child comes out covered in red fur? This is not normal human genetics. If we skip down, when the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the field, but Jacob was a peaceful man living in tents. Now, there's a story, an extra biblical story, in the book of Jasher. The book of Jasher was discovered like in the 1800s, and the Bible had already been compiled, and so it was excluded from the Bible. But one of the tests of being biblical texts was other biblical texts quoted. And the book of Jasher is quoted twice in the Bible. So while it may have been hidden and kept out of the Bible on purpose, it still tells some filler background to these times of the book of Genesis. And one of the stories was that Esau, having seen Babylon and having desired to be the ruler of Babylon, hunted Nimrod and slew Nimrod. And Nimrod's army chased Esau for 3 days. And Nimrod ended up returning home and finding Jacob fixing some lentil stew. And he was weary and famished and near death and expecting to be killed by Nimrod's soldiers. And here we have in Genesis 25:30, and Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, the lentil stew, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die. What profit shall this birthright do me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. This is a very interesting story, that they were brothers. There were two types of men, two types of nations, and they divided. Later, Esau swore to himself that he was going to avenge himself on Jacob and sought to kill him. And from that day forward, the children of God, the children of Israel, Jacob, had the birthright of God's kingdom and the blessings that Jacob got from his father Isaac, which is fertility, the fertility of the land, being able to grow food from the land, being able to father many children. And Esau, he had a birthright also, which was to have power over men's minds, which comes into play later. But also gold and silver. Gold and silver came Esau's way. Life and prosperity came Jacob's way. And later we find the offspring of Esau, the Edomites, in 1 Samuel 22:18. Then the king said to Doeg, You turn around and attack the priests. And Doeg, the Edomite, turned around and attacked the priests. And he killed that day 85 men who wore the linen ephod. Later, another Edomite. Then the Lord raised up an adversary to Solomon. Solomon hated the Edomite. He was of the royal line in Edom. And later, more Edomite problems in the book of Esther. And then, finally, when Jesus was born, it was Herod the Edomite, who was king of Israel, who had John the Baptist beheaded, who sought to kill all the children, all the Israelite children, 2 and under, and killed John the Baptist's father, who was hiding John the Baptist, and that's why Jesus and his family was warned to flee, while Jesus' family was warned to flee. So Herod was not able to kill Jesus. And here in Romans 9:13, we're jumping to the New Testament for those who say, Brother, you're in the Old Testament, show me in the New Testament. Just as it is written, Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated. There is a theology out there that God loves everybody, that all children are the same in God's eyes. But as we saw in the parable yesterday in part 1, that there was good seed and there was bad seed. And the bad seed was planted by an enemy, who we could call Saturn, and their offspring, their hybrid offspring, are now within the bloodline of the Edomites. And whereas a farmer loves his good plants, his good seed that he planted, and hates the weeds that an enemy planted, God loves the children of Jacob and hates the children of Esau. And later we see these, or in the book of John, we see these Edomites coming to Jesus and him calling them out. You are of your father the devil, and you want to do the desires of your father. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in truth, because there is no truth in him. Whenever he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own nature, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Now, just to add it on there, John 8:48, these Edomite, who called themselves Jews, answered and said unto him, Do we not say rightly that you are a Samaritan and have a demon? Now, Samaritans, there's a misunderstanding about Samaritans. The nation of Israel was divided into two nations, the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And the house of Israel had a capital, Samaria, and the house of Judah had a capital, which was Jerusalem. And these two nations were separated. So what they are saying is, Jesus, are you not of the house of Israel? The house of Israel were never called Jews. They were called Israelites. They were saying, you aren't one of us. You aren't of the house of Judah. These Edomites were pretending to be of the house of Judah, such as Herod, king of the Jews. And they were saying, aren't you a Samaritan? They got that part right. Aren't you a Samaritan? Now today, the Jews of today will say, well, Jesus was a Jew. No, here they are rightly saying, you are of the house of Israel, an Israelite. There is a difference. This is something hidden to a lot of church-going Christians. Sorry, there's a lot of liars in the pulpits. So just to hammer this home, these Jews who say they are Jews but are not, in Revelation 2:9 we find, I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich, and the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, or we could say the synagogue of Saturn. And if it appearing once isn't enough, we can jump a chapter ahead to Revelations 3:9. Behold, I will cause those of the synagogue of Satan, or synagogue of Saturn, who say that they are Jews and are not but lie, I will make them come and bow down at your feet and make them know that I have loved you. So there are a people who are not quite people, who have a different god, Saturn. They are of a different race of beings. They are weeds amongst the wheat. This isn't me saying this. This is the Bible saying it. And this is part of the warfare that you have to have open eyes to see. So we'll close up here. And please like our video. Please subscribe. And please come back for part 3.